What's up, guys? On Thursday night, I got to check out Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Spoilers, by the way. So if you don't want to see any spoilers, or if you don't care, keep watching. But if you do, go away. And I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on it. So let's get to it. So after Ant-Man Quantumania, Phase 5 did not start out all that great. But with this movie coming out, it'll probably be one of, if not the best movie in Phase 5. The only other project I think could stand a chance for this phase are projects like Secret Invasion, Daredevil Born Again, and Loki Season 2. The movie was an amazing conclusion to the Guardians of the Galaxy. I really enjoy the humor. It is so much better than the newer projects. The humor in this movie felt like the older MCU movies' humor for sure. Though there was still some of that unfunny humor, but not that much like there is in other projects. I don't know why, but when Drax gave Peter his Zargna and not Mantis, I was laughing a bit, even though it's not the funniest joke in the movie. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is also really focused on the dynamics of these characters. And that's what makes this movie really special, and that's why it is special, because they are family. They argue and laugh together, and you feel a connection with everyone. Mantis and Drax's dynamic in this movie, along with 2014 Gamora and present-day Star-Lord, are great. They handle that really well, considering James Gunn, the director, was not anticipating the death of Gamora in Infinity War. It was out of his control, but they did well with that part of the story. All of the Guardians get time to shine, like a lot of the other movies reviewers say. Even Cosmo and Kraglin get a cool scene. I really like that Kraglin and Yondu scene. I also think a lot of the core Guardians got really well developed through these three movies, such as Nebula redeeming herself from being a worker of Thanos to saving the universe with the rest of the Guardians. So this is probably one of the best. This is probably one of the most emotional movies and dark movies in the MCU. And it really shows. That scene when Peter was floating in space helpless was so intense and sad. I was wondering where his helmet was, though, not gonna lie. I was very confused. I thought maybe he would get an upgraded one for this movie, but yeah, that's whatever. The Rocket storyline was also super emotional. The story of this film is very centric around Rocket for sure. We get to see his backstory and all the trauma he went through. We understand now why he is the way he is. Just like when people call him a raccoon or a rodent, he denies what he is because he does not want to be reminded of his past. But by the end of this film, he learns to accept what and who he is by saying, the name's Rocket Raccoon. Hints were shown of his backstory in Guardians 1 and 2, but it was explored more here for sure. I thought the addition of his friends, Lila, Teef, and Floor were good and made the story even more emotional when they ended up dying. I was heartbroken when I heard his first words, which was hurts, because of all the things the High Revolutionary did to him. When I saw the scene of Rocket clawing the High Evolutionary repeatedly, I was shocked that they let that slide in the movie. I thought that the High Revolutionary was a pretty good villain. In my opinion, he was better than Ego and Ronan from the first two films. I also think that Kang should have been a little more like him in the ways of being more threatening and powerful, because you can feel his threat in this movie. It makes it intense and eager to see what will happen. King didn't have that much of a threat considering he got defeated by an army of future Quantum Realm ants. So, he probably should have been a little more like the High Revolutionary. But the High Revolutionary was ruthless and felt no remorse for what he did to his experiments. And he just felt no remorse at all. He was just obsessed with making the best societies and how he wanted it. That's why when Rocket figured out what was wrong with the machine he had made to make new species, he was outraged because Rocket knew about it and he didn't. So the High Evolutionary was a good villain overall. Not on Killmonger, Thanos, or Loki levels, but he was definitely solid. Alright, now moving on to the secondary villain, Adam Warlock. I know a lot of people do not like Adam Warlock because he was not in the movie too much, but I actually enjoyed him, surprisingly. He was taken out of his pod early by the High Revolutionary, which is why he was a little goofy and uncultured. He was also very powerful. I don't think they nerfed him that much. The only thing I didn't like about his character was that when his mother, the Golden High Priestess Aisha, died, it didn't feel that fleshed out. There wasn't a whole lot of emotion from Adam Warlock. And maybe because he still doesn't know how to react to that, but it may also be because the movie was a little crammed together in the sense of Adam Warlock being there. This is off topic, but seeing Howard the Duck again was so funny and cool to see. Sorry, back to it. So Adam Warlock was just enjoying to me. Nothing amazing though. I do like his character. Let me just say, this movie has some really nice shots, like when Peter was leaning out of the ship window and when the whole team does the iconic team-up walk in the final battle. The soundtrack really fits the tone of the movie. James Gunn never misses with the soundtracks. Like when it was showing Rocket's backstory and it fades to his face at the very beginning of the movie, the song he was singing and listening to matched his mood and the tone of what was going on. The action was very good too. When Groot was shooting all the guns with Star-Lord back to back, it was awesome. And the final battle was great. Like when Rocket jumped up in the air and started shooting. And I thought those Mantis scenes in the final battle were cool too. She was like hopping on everyone. Now let's talk about the okay stuff in this movie. I wish we could have seen Kraglin and Cosmo a little more since they did have their own posters for the movie. But I'm glad we focused more on the core members. Kraglin and Cosmo were only at the beginning and the end of the movies. I was also very surprised nobody died at all. I wouldn't say I was disappointed, but they were hyping up deaths from the trailers and advertising. So that's what I was expecting. It was also obvious from the beginning that Peter Quill was going to return to Earth since Mantis kept telling him that he left his grandpa. And like I said before, that Adam Warlock mother dying felt flat for me. I also wish Groot and Rocky got more screen time together. That's basically all the mad things I have about this movie. I didn't have a lot of problems with this movie. I thought the ending was pretty good. Peter going back to Earth was predictable but heartwarming. Rocket leading the new Guardians was awesome, and Nebula leaving to lead nowhere was a good ending. The Drax and Mantis goodbye scene was great. That last interaction between Peter and Gamora was perfect. The mid-credit scene of Rocket leading the new Guardians of the Galaxy was so satisfying and really great and cool to see. Seeing King Groot was so sick. And the new team is consisted of King Groot, Rocket, Adam Warlock, Kraglin, Cosmo, and Fila Bell. It's a really cool lineup. Fila Bell is one of the children they saved from the final act and is related to Marvel, if you did not know. I doubt they'll explore that more though in the future, but the post-credit scene was of Star-Lord and his grandpa talking about the neighbors, which was nice to see Peter having a normal life. Seeing the legendary Star-Lord will return caught me off guard because I did not think they were going to bring Peter back. But I don't think it's a bad idea either. For Secret Wars that King Dynasty could pull up since he's on Earth now. I just love this movie and it's definitely the best since Endgame. And this is by far the best trilogy in the MCU. James Gunn is a legend for these movies. I'm going to miss these characters, but I think they had a great ending and Marvel should leave it that way. So yeah, overall this movie was a good 9.5 out of 10. Hopefully I feel the same way on rewatch. This hopefully isn't just recency bias, but a good 9.5 out of 10. Definitely the best since Endgame.